about the $600 billion number that Labor's got out there as the cost of this nuclear plan for the coalition? It's completely fanciful. It's not even a proper government costing. It's made up by basically a front lobby group funded by activists in the renewable sector. But it's critical because I got around 4 or 5 marginal seats on the weekend. I saw a lot of billboards on highways as well, constantly referencing this $600 billion being ripped out and saying if Dutton needs that money for nuclear, he's going to cut all these things that you care about. That's deadly.
Yeah, that's right. And really what they're doing here is they're using the nuclear debate as the hook. The real impact is the word that cuts. So basically what Labor was desperate to get their hands on is a narrative that the coalition, if elected, will go back to what some of these voters think will be form, which is they'll cut certain services and programs to fund their policies. And that's fundamentally what their mission's been all about. And it's working for the Labor base. So I've got to emphasise that we can see with the Labor primary, it's quite healthy because it's not bleeding anywhere. And so that's been also their mission. So I think this campaign that we're talking about has had a great impact for allowing Labor to keep its votes intact whilst it goes and animates coalition's flanks.
I guess the problem there is truth in politics, though, because Peter Dutton all the way along has said he will not cut all these things that Labor alleged he would cut. Yep. You know, he went through Medicare, education, all of them, and he's been able to demonstrate his bona fides there. But they still have to get the straw man up of cuts. So they use the nuclear argument, and it's clear from other polling I've seen that punters aren't necessarily against nuclear, even in the seats where the nuclear plants would go. But they're against nuclear if it means a $600 billion bill, and they're going to have to wear the cuts to pay for it. So Labor's used it as the straw man, and it doesn't matter what Peter Dutton is saying, it's got currency, but it's a made-up figure. Now, how on earth are you going to fight a phantom, you know, like a puff of smoke, a wisp of smoke like that, Cos? How do you get truth back into politics?
Pretty difficult because we're so tribal. So that narrative works amongst Labor's base, right? So they will believe that narrative. But the voters that the coalition are losing right now to minor parties, I don't reckon it's because of this. I think there's something else going on here. So
what's happening, do you think? What do you think's happening?
Yeah, I think there's a lack of economic narrative coming from the coalition, which is upsetting a lot of, I would say, younger voters who do vote for the coalition, particularly in regional Australia and parts of our large cities. Now, so that means they can get them back pretty quickly, but they're running out of time. So looking at the types of people that have left the coalition since February, the majority are under the age of 50, and they're not listening to Albo's campaign. They're not interested, right? They're going off to minor parties, and so getting them back should be not easy, but easier because they are more culturally attuned to listening to conservative voices.
The problem is the coalition, as you know, has a greater attrition of that third party or minor party vote. It doesn't come back in a disciplined way compared to Labor's vote that leaves Labor but goes somewhere else on the left. That's the first point. But 2 weeks to go. I mean, you've really got to get your skates on. And I think the two biggest arsenal weapons you have, your Treasurer, in the Coalition's case, Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor, your Shadow Defence Minister Andrew Hastie. Well, where are they in the campaign? They're the two equities that news polls say the Coalition's got. Well, I can hardly see either men fronting anything much at the moment. But I want to know why there's been such a fall away in the Coalition's vote in Victoria. What's happening there?
The same dynamic. If you look at the votes that have fallen away, they haven't gotten to Labor. I mean, Labor's primary's gone up again, only 2 points. They're up to about 30, which is still very low. I mean, they ended up on 33 at the last federal election in Victoria in 2022. So they're still down. But again, the majority are going to minor parties. Same trend. And again, in this case, it's occurring in outer suburban areas, but also our middle and urban areas of Melbourne as well. So same dynamic, only it's more pronounced.
Gosh, I hope people wake up and don't send their vote to Palmer. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Cos.